Even more once he was assassinated.
Questions continue spreading online about whether Erika Kirk rushed the cremation of Charlie Kirk before a full medical examination could occur. That question has grown louder as new discussions, recordings, and claims circulate across social media platforms and independent commentary channels.
I did do the request. They emailed me back. He did not go in for an autopsy. The death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital.
Again, everyone always has to think there's more to the story. Well, sometimes there's not. I've seen the autopsy report. I've seen our case pulled together.
Yahoo just publicly asked for Charlie Kirk's autopsy to never be revealed. Now, I'm not really sure why he would want to do this, guys. Like, probably no reason. He probably just doesn't want people to see, like, something maybe only his family can see, right, guys?
To have seen the autopsy report, to have seen the different evidence portions that have been collected.
Earlier controversy emerged after statements about Charlie's post-incident medical review appeared inconsistent. Erika Kirk repeatedly stated that she had personally read the official report, presenting that conclusion as firm and unquestionable. However, a dispatch audio recording from the day of the fatal shooting later surfaced online, and commentators argued it suggested that no complete autopsy had actually taken place. That revelation immediately intensified public debate. Soon afterward, another claim appeared online, alleging that Charlie's body was cremated shortly after his death. According to individuals described as being close to him, cremation was reportedly not the option he preferred during life. The situation became more complicated when an inside source claimed Charlie's parents were not consulted before the decision was made. According to that account, no warning, discussion, or advance notice was given before the cremation occurred.
So I did do the request. They emailed me back. He did not go in for an autopsy. The death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital.
Oh, okay. Can you just do a post documenting that?
I'm sorry, 10-9?
Can you just add a step to the case documenting that there was no autopsy? And
287 on the clip.
Additional details surrounding the investigation have also drawn scrutiny. Reports indicate the scene was cleared quickly following the shooting. Commentators have pointed out that no bullet was publicly recovered, and critics argue there has been no clear confirmation that Charlie was struck by a .3006 caliber round. Meanwhile, Erika Kirk's earlier statements about the medical examination continue to be debated. Critics ask why a full autopsy was referenced publicly if investigators did not conduct one. Speculation intensified further when discussions turned to Erika's reported activities on the same day Charlie was fatally shot. Observers examining the timeline say that is the moment when many questions began appearing across online discussions. As the story continues circulating, some commentators claim the timeline raises difficult questions. Others caution that many of the claims remain unverified and require confirmed evidence before firm conclusions can be drawn. The debate, however, continues growing louder across platforms daily. More than 5 months have passed since the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk, yet many observers continue asking the same fundamental question: what actually happened to his body? At this point, no clear public information identifies where he was ultimately laid to rest. That absence of details has left some people uneasy, especially among those closely following the ongoing discussions surrounding the case.
For reasons unknown. What about Timpanogos Regional Hospital, the hospital where Charlie Kirk was declared dead? Well, there's pretty much no interest in Timpanogos Regional Hospital in the state of Israel because why would there be? Except this spike that happened about a month before Charlie Kirk's death. That is very...
To be fair, keeping a burial location private is not unusual after the death of a high-profile public figure. Families often choose privacy in order to avoid crowds, unwanted attention, or disruptions at memorial sites. In many situations, that decision would not attract much attention. However, critics argue the circumstances surrounding Erika Kirk have made the silence feel different. Because earlier statements about the day of the shooting have been disputed online, some observers now interpret the lack of information as calculated rather than simply private. One of the moments that reignited debate occurred during a December town hall interview broadcast by CBS. During that conversation, Erika confidently stated she had personally reviewed the autopsy report connected to Charlie's death and found nothing suspicious. However, the discussion took another turn when a dispatch audio recording from September 10th later surfaced online. In that recording, a voice can be heard stating that Charlie did not undergo a full autopsy. According to the clip, the death certificate was signed by a hospital physician rather than following a complete forensic examination. Critics say that contrast between the interview statement and the audio recording is what reignited widespread questions. Supporters caution that partial information or incomplete context can easily lead to misunderstanding. Even so, the debate continues growing across online platforms as people compare the different accounts and attempt to reconstruct the timeline surrounding the tragic event. In situations involving high-profile fatal shootings, a complete medical review is typically expected. Comprehensive forensic examinations often help establish the exact cause of death and provide documentation for investigators, prosecutors, and courts. Because of that standard practice, the claims within the leaked recording immediately raised questions among observers. Critics began asking how someone could confidently state they had reviewed an autopsy report if a full autopsy had not actually been performed. That contradiction became a focal point of online discussion.
Erika Kirk, the blonde right there, with the sunglasses coming off the plane. Behind her are the Vances right there. The second lady and the vice president behind. That is Air Force, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
I could not see from our image if the flag was.
Supporters of Erika Kirk argue that leaked audio may not provide the full context of the medical procedures involved. Others say the statements in the recording appear clear and difficult to misinterpret. Some commentators have suggested that if a complete examination did occur, publicly releasing the report could potentially resolve speculation and calm many of the circulating rumors. Yet nearly 6 months after the incident, no detailed autopsy report has been publicly released. For critics examining the timeline, that absence of documentation has only intensified debate. Another issue repeatedly raised involves the lack of a detailed ballistics report linking the recovered weapon directly to the fatal injury. In cases involving firearms, ballistic analysis is often crucial in confirming the trajectory, caliber, and physical evidence tied to the incident. Observers say that detail alone could answer many of the remaining questions surrounding the shooting. Discussion has also grown around a separate claim suggesting Erika arranged for Charlie's body to be cremated shortly after the incident. Some commentators argue the speed at which the body was returned following the tragedy appeared unusually fast. After the shooting, Charlie was transported to Timpanogos Regional Hospital, where medical staff ultimately declared him deceased. Another curious detail mentioned by online commentators involves unusual search activity connected to the hospital shortly before Charlie's death. According to some observers reviewing analytics data, there was reportedly a sudden spike in search interest related to Timpanogos Regional Hospital roughly 1 month earlier.
Believe that Tyler Robinson, your husband.
Yes, I do.
Why do you think it is so hard for so many people to believe that reality?
Because it's too simple. Again, everyone always has to think there's more to the story. Well, sometimes there's not. I've seen the autopsy report. I've seen our case pulled together. I've been in constant contact with our lawyers, the prosecuting team.
While that observation has been widely shared online, it remains unclear what actually caused the spike. Analysts caution that unusual search patterns can occur for many unrelated reasons, making definitive conclusions difficult without additional verified evidence. Less than 24 hours after the incident, Charlie Kirk's casket was reportedly transported from Utah to Arizona aboard Air Force Two, with J.D. Vance and Usha Vance accompanying Erika Kirk. Observers noted that the turnaround appeared extremely fast for such a high-profile situation. One reason the situation continues attracting attention involves the speed of the process. In cases involving shootings or other violent incidents, full medical examinations typically require careful documentation and detailed forensic review. Investigators normally take additional time to record injuries, collect evidence, and analyze the physical circumstances surrounding the death. Because of that standard procedure, observers examining the timeline began asking questions when events appeared to move so quickly. If a complete medical examination was conducted, many commentators ask when exactly that process took place. A proper forensic review in a high-profile shooting case is rarely completed in a short period. The process usually includes detailed wound analysis, toxicology screening, evidence collection, and documentation that can take many hours or even days. When those steps appear compressed into a narrow window, speculation tends to grow. Another factor increasing debate involves the claim that Charlie's body may have been cremated soon afterward. Critics argue that if cremation occurred quickly, it would eliminate the possibility of any second independent medical examination in the future. Once cremation takes place, no further physical testing or forensic review can occur. Because of that reality, the claim has intensified online discussion about whether all investigative procedures were fully completed before that step occurred. For many observers following the story closely, the timing of events feels more than simply fast. Critics argue it appears unusually strategic. First came questions about how quickly the scene was cleared. Then confusion emerged regarding whether a full medical review had actually taken place. Now, additional claims about rapid cremation have entered the conversation. Each individual detail might not appear explosive on its own, but when placed together within the same timeline, critics say the sequence creates a narrative that continues fueling discussion across social media platforms. The central question still hangs in the air for many observers. If every step of the investigation was handled strictly according to established procedures, with nothing unusual involved, why does the overall timeline appear so tightly controlled and rushed? That perception is exactly what continues motivating people to examine the story more closely rather than allowing it to fade from public attention. The speed at which Charlie Kirk's body was transported has also raised additional questions. If the body was moved so quickly after the incident, some commentators argue it could suggest either that the medical examination occurred at extraordinary speed or that the process may not have been completed in the typical way. In most investigations involving violent loss of life, medical examiners and investigators usually keep the body at the initial location longer. The reason is simple. Every forensic step must be carefully documented. Each detail, from wound analysis to evidence collection, forms part of the official investigative record. When a case involves a high-profile public figure such as Charlie Kirk, those procedures are often even more thorough. Multiple agencies may coordinate for days while documenting the scene, examining physical evidence, and conducting comprehensive forensic analysis. Such processes rarely conclude within a single overnight window. Because of that expectation, critics have begun asking several additional questions. Why was the body transported so quickly? Why did J.D. Vance reportedly accompany the transport personally? And why did the sequence of events appear so organized that some observers believe it may have been prepared in advance? These questions have continued circulating widely online. The speculation intensified even further when some insiders claimed Erika Kirk ordered Charlie's body to be cremated almost immediately. That allegation alone has been enough to keep the discussion active and growing across many online platforms. Observers examining the footage continue focusing on the details surrounding the moment of the incident. They question how quickly security personnel responded. Body language, positioning, and even facial expressions are being analyzed closely across countless online discussions. Every second of the available video has been dissected repeatedly, almost like a slow-motion replay in a championship sports broadcast. Critics reviewing the footage argue that in a real-life emergency involving a high-powered rifle, immediate chaos would normally erupt. They describe scenarios where people begin shouting, security rushes into action instantly, and the entire area is locked down within seconds. However, some commentators claim the reaction captured in the footage appeared delayed or unusually controlled. That observation has been repeated frequently across online forums, podcasts, and video breakdowns posted by independent analysts. Another point often raised involves the visible presence of blood in the footage circulating online. Medical professionals frequently explain that blood loss can vary significantly depending on the nature of the wound and the internal damage caused by the projectile. That explanation is widely accepted in medical discussions. Still, skeptics argue that injuries involving the neck from a powerful rifle round would typically produce dramatic external signs. Because of that expectation, critics claim the visual evidence in the available footage does not align with what they anticipated seeing. The disagreement between those interpretations has kept the debate active. Security procedures have also become a major topic of discussion. Observers have asked why certain protocols appeared to activate while others seemed slower to engage. Some analysts suggest that agents may have been responding to confusion during the first critical seconds of the incident. Others speculate that communication between personnel may not have been clear in the immediate aftermath. These types of questions often emerge when public trust begins to weaken. However, it remains important to note that none of these claims have been officially validated as proof of wrongdoing. Despite that, the controversy continues because each visual detail is compared against leaked audio recordings, witness accounts, and differing versions of the timeline. Until comprehensive documentation addresses these points directly, the debate appears unlikely to disappear. Critics who analyze the sequence of events side by side argue the overall pattern does not appear random. Instead, they claim it looks coordinated or managed in some way. According to that perspective, the official narrative surrounding the incident appears unstable. Some critics argue the public is being encouraged to doubt their own observations and simply accept whatever explanation is eventually provided. Those accusations are now circulating widely online. Erika Kirk has already faced scrutiny over previous statements concerning her personal history and her description of Charlie's medical examination. Because of those earlier controversies, skeptics question whether her version of events should automatically outweigh the unanswered questions still lingering in the public conversation. For those critics, trust must be earned through transparency rather than assumed automatically. At this stage, commentators argue it remains impossible to know what additional details may have gone unnoticed during the chaotic moments surrounding the tragedy involving Charlie Kirk. They warn that if questioning stops entirely, the dominant narrative may become permanent regardless of whether it ultimately proves accurate. That concern is exactly why the discussion continues spreading across social media and news commentary. Many observers believe the conversation will continue until clearer evidence or official explanations finally address the remaining questions.